So greetings. The date today is the 24th of March. I've been trying to get the date right, but anyway, it's the 24th of March. Today's a significant day in British history. There's only been two eras of this time, and both of them serve one of the most longest serving situation. I'll explain in a minute, but I'm here in Richmond, and I'm on Richmond Green right now, and I'm going to speak about a very special woman who passed away here a while ago. See you after the intro. So, as I said, I'm in Richmond. This is Richmond Green. Yeah, let me just show you. It's Richmond Green. Now, this originally was a jousting arena. Yeah, jousting. You can see the layout over there where the bullet would have come across this way, but this was a jousting arena. And we are about to go over there. We're going to see a very special woman who passed away here. You probably know who I'm talking about. But this woman, she made massive changes on a British society. Now, Richmond Palace was built by Henry V. No, I'm lying. The Sixth. No, I'm even lying about that. I think it was Henry, let me make sure I get this right. Henry VII, which is King Henry's dad. And we're going to go over to see what's left of it, which is not much left. And I'm going to come back and explain a bit more about who this woman was. If you haven't guessed it already, then I don't know what you're doing with your history, because this woman had two eras. So let's go to Richmond Palace, which is left to it. I want to show you this sign first. I'll make sure that people don't turn up. You know, the bloody, what do you call it? Traffic warden. So here, this is Mr. Nguyen. That's Richmond Palace. What's left of it? That's the gatehouse. And what I'm going to show you, I'll come back to this in a minute. I'm going to show you this sign. You can still see the old remembrance of the outer house, outer wall. And as you can see here, hang on, this is private property now. But there's nothing left of the palace now, but I just want to show you this sign. They bricked up the old entrance. But look, you can see here. This is all what is left of the original palace. If you go inside, it's basically stately homes now, the homes. You can see the door there, or where the door would originally have been. So, the woman I'm talking about is Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I was born in 1533 on the 7th of September in Greenwich Palace in East London, basically. She died here in 1603, the 24th of March. Yes, I know. So what I'm going to show you now is the palace where she passed. This is what they thought it would look like, or they think it looks like. Now this is built by Henry VII. I've done a video on this already, and this is what this here is that. Yeah, so you can see it. So this here, yeah, is that there. And this would have backed onto the river Thames. Again, it's no longer there. So here's a bit of information about the palace. what I'm going to do, I'm going to head back to location. Let's talk a bit about Elizabeth. What did she do? Why was she so amazing? Why was there only 2 eras of that age? So one was Elizabeth I, who reigned for 54 years, roughly thereabouts, and she died just over there. And then second era was Elizabeth II, another Elizabethan era. She reigned probably about 70 years or more than that even, if I remember correctly. Now, again, these are big eras, and they both were women, yeah? And again, both of these women who lived for such a long time and reigned for such a long time wasn't meant to be queen. Elizabeth I wasn't meant to be queen. Now, Elizabeth I's mum was Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII. We all know about Henry already, so I'm not going to go on about him. As I said, she wasn't meant to be queen because Prince Arthur was meant to be king. Now, Prince Arthur died. I can't remember exactly. I'll find out how he died and I'll put it on the on here now. But Henry wasn't meant to be king. Henry took the throne and married Catherine. Just said, bugger it. So married Catherine, and then had a child, which was Anne from McCready. I think it's Anne. And then obviously he wasn't happy. Didn't have no boys. Ended up having Anne Boleyn, meeting Anne Boleyn, then having Queen Elizabeth II or the first. Queen Elizabeth II, Queen Elizabeth the First. So, what was so good about Elizabeth? Well, she was the only woman in the Middle Ages who reigned like a king, yeah? And she never had no children. One of her loves of her life was Lord Dudley, who was a bit of a rogue. The other thing was she took on the Spanish Armada. Now, the Spanish was very powerful in them days. They were like America these days, and they decided to try and invade England. So the Queen decided to go, so this for a bag of chips, I'm going down to rally her troops. So she did. She went down and saw the Spanish Armada just off the coast. I double check where they were at, and I put it up on the chat or up in here. But basically, they just rocked up to basically invade England, and the Queen was like, "I ain't having none of that." She decided to ride out and get on board the Mary Rose. Now, the Mary Rose is significantly important to the Spanish Armada, and the Spanish Armada fled when they saw the Queen, and obviously they saw how she done. If I remember correctly, what she did, she summoned her generals, and she got them to box them in. So kind of forced them out of the Channel Tunnel or wherever it was, and they fled because they thought it was twice the amount. And I think, if I remember correctly, what she arranged to do, they had ships one behind each other. So when obviously the captains saw these vessels coming, or these massive ships coming, they started fleeing. They thought there was more than one. So as they got closer, they branched out and then started to obviously intimidate the Spanish. The Spanish obviously fled, and the Queen was told almost like a king, because like, as I said, there was no female queens then who really ruled in power. They would have to marry a man. It was one of them days, not like it is today. So I said, she reigned for 54 years. Yeah, in 54 years. She, not just that, it was called the Golden Age. There weren't really many wars going on. It was, remember, when you had her dad who was promoting self-made businessmen, yeah, he didn't really care where you came from. The poorer you were, in a way, the more he can manipulate and put you in a position of power for him having more control. So he promoted various people to make them lords and barons and dukes and so on. And same did Elizabeth. And Elizabeth carried on the golden age of prosperity for this country. And through the Elizabethan age, you could see the growth and expansion of how can I explain it? Of England, right? And not just that. Remember, these are the times when they were going out to the Americas. I remember there was a story where I think it was Sir Walter Raleigh. You heard me talking about him before. He went out to the colonies and he brought back fruit. exotic fruit like bananas, kiwi, not bananas. I think it's oranges. I think that's what they got them at that time. And all these specific things, right? Fruits they've never seen before, they never tasted before. Remember, in them days as well, you saw the other one's pineapple, and pineapples were really significant because you can see in London on these old buildings there is a pineapple shape. Yeah, this pineapple shape is to show you how wealthy you was and how powerful you was, because you can get these exotic fruit. Now, these exotic fruit was, I know I'm going about exotic fruit, but it's really, really, really quite fascinating and interesting because this exotic fruit was kept safe away from even the staff, because there were staff, taking whatever, but then you would think, these days, you may be at work and take a pen or leftovers from like stuff that hasn't been cooked or hasn't been sold. It was pretty much the same back in the day. And remember, there was a poorer times in them days as well. And there was no NHS, um, there was no benefits. Then you had to work to live. If you didn't work to live, you're gonna. So excuse me. So I just want to show you this. Have a look at the man them trying to park behind the beast. He was there for about 20 minutes trying to park, bless him. Can you see over here? Yeah, this is the palace, the entrance into the palace. Yeah. All this would have been the front of what I showed you before. This tree, I think, is awesome. That also symbolizes the residence and the power of Richmond Palace. And you can see the windows there. Hang on, let me see if I can zoom in here. Holding windows, they're just like, that's also trying to give you an indication of what the palace would have looked like, and of the place of significance. And as I said, like, this was the Elizabethan era. Remember, there's only been two eras, right? Two great monarchs, or two female monarchs, really, who's lived for such a long time and reigned for such a long time. And both of them were called Elizabeth. As I said, Elizabeth I, who reigned for 54 years, died at the age of 69. Queen Elizabeth II, who reigned for 70 years, 74 years, and died almost touching 100 years old. And these are both women who, as I said before, had not expected to become queen. Not expected to become queen, but they did. And, I believe this country is better off for it, because they both had massive shifts, massive changes towards this country. So that's Elizabeth I, only a short one. Yeah. So stay blessed, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video.